My name is Della Daisy Cardenas, and I am 18 years old. I first was brought into restorative justice around 14 years old, and prior to that, I had to overcome a lot. I had problems in my home with my mom and my dad went to prison, and my mom and I just didn't see eye to eye, and I was just a teenager, just wanted to do whatever I wanted to do, didn't want to hear anybody else. And growing up, I had both my parents in the house, so it's not like I grew up with just my mom or just my dad. So when my dad did go to prison, that really affected me because I felt like my mom didn't understand me, nobody understood me. And when we moved from San Diego to Reedley to be with family because my mom couldn't do it on her own. When I started high school, it was really hard for me because I felt like I didn't really have that support that I needed because my mom had to work all the time. My dad couldn't be around, and I just found myself looking for attention in all the wrong places with my friends, wherever I could get attention pretty much, because that's the truth. Sometimes you don't care who's around you as long as somebody's paying attention to you. And then I started going out, hanging out with the wrong people. And I was always a 4.0 student growing up. I was always taught that knowledge is power. You go to school, and that's my job. That's my only job, is to go to school. But then when I would go to school and then I found myself having problems or drama with other kids, then I didn't even want to be in school. So then I would ditch school, I didn't want to go to school. So that caused my mother and I to fight more because I wasn't really living up to her expectations. And then we didn't have very good communication because she worked all the time. So I didn't really know what was going on her end, and she didn't know what I was going through. So that was hard for us to talk through our problems because we didn't know how to talk to each other. So I thought she was mad at me all the time. She thought I was rebelling. And really, we just both needed to sit down and tell each other how we were feeling. And that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have VORP in my life, because I ended up getting into a fight with her. It got physical. I went to juvenile hall, and I had to do the VORP process. And from there we had to do mediation and counseling, and we were able to let each other know how we felt and what we were really going through and see the other side of the story. And it wasn't all her fault, and I thought it was, and I always put the blame on her that, oh, you're not around, but it's because she cared about me that she couldn't be around that much. One day I came home and my mother was furious at me. I don't remember what I did, but I did something, and we got into an argument, and I wanted to leave, and she didn't want me to leave, and it was just this big old ordeal, and then we ended up fighting each other, and then she called the cops on me, and she pressed charges on me, and I went to juvenile hall, and I was there for probably, I want to say close to 3 months, and it was really hard because I felt like I shouldn't have been there, and I didn't belong there because some of the girls there they weren't like me. They didn't talk like me. They didn't have any goals. I had goals, and so I just felt like I don't belong here. And I felt like the longer I was there, the worse I was becoming, because I was becoming like them. Because if I wasn't like them, then I was outcasted, and then I had more problems. So either you adapt and you try to blend in and fit in, or you don't, and life there is just a lot harder for you. And in there you get pressured to be in a gang or be with a group, and if you're not with this group, then you're nobody, and then they want to label you as something else, because it's if you're not this gang, then you have to be that gang. And I'm well, I'm not that gang either. And so it was just really hard to get through every day of that, and then feeling like you have nobody else in there. I can't call anybody. I have to call just my mom, but my mom and I are fighting, so who do I call? I have nobody to talk to. I have no visits because the only people that can visit are my parents. So, and my dad's in jail and my mom's not talking to me. So I had no visitors. I really didn't have anybody to write. So it took a big toll on me and the person that I was, but I had a lot of time to reflect, and that was am I going to go this way or am I going to go that way? So it helped having restorative justice, because I got to talk to Tim and other people about my problems, and they gave me the courage to keep going forward, because they let me know that I wasn't alone, that they weren't going to leave me there. I wasn't going to be there forever. So it kind of gave me a better outlook on what was going to happen, a better perspective. But I had to go to court, and I felt like every time I went to court, it was for 2 minutes, and then they would tell me, oh, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And there's a whole nother 2 weeks of my life thrown away, wasted behind bars. And then in another 2 weeks you come back and, oh, we're going to talk to you again in 2 weeks. And then I had an option to go to trial and try to fight it. But I really didn't have anybody on my side, because my mom had her boyfriend as a witness to what happened. I really didn't have anybody, and it was kind of just her word against mine. And it feels like I'm the child, she's the mom, who are they going to believe? And the whole time that you are going to court, I wasn't going to get any time served. So it was just more and more time just thrown away. So I pled guilty, and I got sentenced to, I think, like 63 days or something. And after that is when I got to talk to representatives of restorative justice. We started the restorative justice process, and my mother and we got to sit down and talk about what was going to change, what was expected of me. I had to be accountable to what I said I would do. I had to sign a contract. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to behave, I'm going to be good, and I'm going to move on. It was, I'm going to go to school, I am going to talk to my probation officer constantly, I have a curfew, there's a time that I have to be here and a time I have to be there. It was good for me, because I actually had to be accountable for what I said I was going to do. It was good for my mom, because she knew where I was at and what I was doing, and she didn't have to worry about me as much. I honestly believe if I didn't have restorative justice as an option, I wouldn't be where I am today, because I would have felt so alone. I probably would have fallen into some other category somewhere else, because I wouldn't have had somebody telling me, you can do it, you're better than this, I believe in you. And those things are really key growing up. You need to hear those things. You need to hear somebody say, I'm proud of you. Because when you don't hear that often, you feel like you're not really worth much. So I really loved that somebody was there for me, and I had a support system, and I wasn't just like everybody else, and I wasn't labeled just a criminal. Because when you're looked at like a criminal and you're talked to like a criminal every day, you start to tell yourself you are a criminal, and that's not true. And I had to learn that. Being in juvenile hall, some of the guards, they treat you like you're a criminal, you did something wrong, because they don't know your story, and they don't take the time to ask your story. They're just doing their job, it's not their fault that they're just doing their job, but they can't get too attached to you either. They don't want to be emotionally attached to you. And so it was good to have somebody to share my story with, and somebody to know what really goes on. And if I didn't have restorative justice, I wouldn't have ever felt justice. I wouldn't have ever felt renewed. After I completed the restorative justice, I found myself still believing in everything that I was told, that I can still do things, I can still achieve things. So So I still continue to write my goals down on paper. I find myself with a pen and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, what can I attain this week? What can I make happen next month? And some things aren't going to happen for over a year or two. But at least I still, even if it's like at the end of this week, I'm going to have cleaned my whole room and done all my laundry. That is still a goal, because when you accomplish something, you feel like, oh, I did it. I didn't just throw my week away. And that's where it starts, just little baby things like that, just little things. And now I had a goal to finish high school by December, because I had fallen behind growing up, like my freshman year. I never went to school, so I had a lot of credits to make up. Now I have 19 credits left, and I'll be done in September. So that's even earlier than what I had shot for. And even though it's a little late, I still believe that at least I'm going to graduate. And I still have that goal. And I want to go to college, so I'm looking into colleges. I can't really start until I finish those 19 credits. But I finished my summer school early, and I just have a couple more things to do, and I'll be done. So I've started the application process, working on my essays so I can apply for scholarships. So I have a lot of goals now, and I think goals are very important because they keep you motivated. If you don't have goals, there's nothing to look forward to. And then you're just like spending your day wasted. And I don't want to waste any more time, because in juvenile hall I feel like I wasted a lot of time. With my daughter, I just want her to know that I do care about her, and I do want to be there for everything. And I don't want to miss out on anything, and that's going to be hard because I'm a young mom now, and I'm going to have to go to school, I'm going to have to go to work. And I just hope that she understands that, because it took me a long time to understand that my parents couldn't sometimes. They just couldn't. And that's just the way it is. And I can't be selfish as a teenager, feeling like, oh, woe's me, feeling bad for myself all the time, because that's where I made the mistake of making myself a victim, because I wasn't a victim. And I made myself feel sorry for myself this whole time, and really, it wasn't that bad. So, I don't know. I just hope not to make some of the same mistakes. I want to talk to her more and let her know, hey, I do want to be there, but I have to work. But at least she'll know what's really going on. I need to have an open communication with her. Right before I went to juvenile hall, actually, I was introduced to this house, actually, that I'm sitting in front of, CYM, Community Youth Ministries. And I had the opportunity to live here because my mother and I were having problems, and I didn't want to live at home, and my counselor actually referred me here. And I stayed here for a little while, and I made some really great connections. I met a lot of very diverse people, and along the way I met a lady named Sherry Wiedenhofer, and she was my mentor. And she was always there for me every time I needed something. I needed a ride, I needed a phone call. She was there. And when I got in trouble and I ended up going to juvenile hall, she was the person that I talked to. I called her and I told her, or I think I wrote her or something, and I told her what was going on. And she told me about restorative justice and Tim and all these great people. And she was there pretty much holding my hand the whole way too. She told me things were going to be all right. She wrote me letters. She made sure that I saw the people I needed to see. After restorative justice, my mentor and I, we stayed really close. We would text, talk on the phone, and she made sure I didn't get lost, is what I would say. And she always invited me to different events, or whatever she could squeeze me into, she would. I was always like tagging along with her. And she helped me get an internship with MCC. So I learned how to make coffee. I was a barista for a while. And she just helped me make all kinds of connections with all the right people, the people that cared about me. good people, good friends. And I thought that was great. And so having my mentor in my life has really made a big difference, because every time I need to talk to somebody, she's there. I can call her. I need a ride, she's there. She's got me. I need $10, she's got $10. She's always there for me. And I think that's great. And everybody needs a mentor or somebody like that in their life. Somebody that they can depend on. Through my mentor, I was able to do community service at the Mennonite Quilt Center, and I believe I had maybe 90 hours to complete. And it was great because I wasn't on like the side of the freeway picking up trash somewhere. I was around educated people and people with different walks of life and different stories. So being able to complete my community service at MCC was really a gift. It was really a blessing. It was, because I got to meet all kinds of people, and I learned lots of different trades. I learned how to do the register. I learned how to make coffee. I learned how to sew. I learned how to clean, because there is a right and a wrong way to clean. And so I got to learn things from the bottom up. I got to learn, or I have the privilege to learn alongside people who knew way more than I ever dream of knowing. And it was really great to be able to do my community service there and make more connections and meet more people. That's probably one of my favorite parts, was getting to talk to people and understanding where they come from and not being judged. And people, when they come in, they didn't ask me, "Oh, you're doing community service, you're a criminal." They were very respectful, and they thought it was a good thing what I was doing. They said it was a great thing that I was spending my time there. So that made me feel a lot better about what I was doing as well. I believe anybody that has gotten into trouble should really look into restorative justice, because it really is like a second chance to do better. And it has helped me tremendously, and I believe it can help anybody. You just have to want the help, and it'll help you. It gives people a second chance, and I think everybody should be open to it. Other people should look into it. If you haven't heard about it, read about it, tell somebody about it, because it's a great program, and it really needs to be taken advantage of. You need to do it because it's available. And if I didn't have restorative justice, I wouldn't be where I am today. I honestly wouldn't be doing as good as I am.